God bless, baby. Everybody, God bless, baby. Everybody, God bless, baby. Everybody. Verbally speaking, my blessings be leaking through your membranes. You best maintain or get your ass blown out the frame. My name remains a mystery for all you niggas trying to get with me. Styles run wild like in the B now. I jig up kids with rhyme tactics. I flex it like fat. Your whole stilo is anorexic. My ill dialect is complex. I spit threats on the MPEX. For real skills is what I possess. I'm burning sessions of stress. Get it off my chest. Standing in the sight. Now guess who's the best of the best? Recognize the live wire, foe higher. Now you desire to feel the heat from the fire. Cause I'm on fire. Sitting your half-inch clowns. Molecules, size rappers claiming that you get down. But I quest for the best in life. And live mad trite through the pain and strife. So God bless your life. Everybody, God bless, baby. 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 Everybody, God bless, baby.
Yo, you're tuned into Mid-Atlantic Jams. I'm your host, B Rice, and I definitely got a legend I'm talking to over the phone today. Yo, if it wasn't for him, we and a couple others too as well, just help building this foundation we known as Richmond hip hop. Mid-Atlantic Jams, probably wouldn't even be here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, just at this time, I have the honor to talk to on the phone, Deeda Bam, one half of the Ill Biskits. How you doing today, man?
Peace. Well, I'm doing well.
Word, man. How's everything going on, and how's everything going in the Chi?
Well, everything's cool. We recently moved further south. We were saying, when I moved here, I moved to the south side, but we were a little further, closer to downtown, and now we've moved a little further south, and it's an adjustment period because it's different. I mean, we moved into a house. We were living in a condo before, and of course, we moved to 75th Street, and if anybody's been watching the news, you know that right in this area this summer, we've been having a lot of, issues like the whole city with police brutality. But most recently, about a month or so ago, a police officer shot a black man not too far from here, and there was a lot of protests associated with that. And so that's where I'm at. I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the mix, so that's a bit different. There's a bit of adjustment period, but, all in all, everything's really well, to be honest.
Since we're talking about Chicago, here's some current news. What do you think about the mayor just deciding to call it quits? Because it happened, I would want to say, like a week or so ago. It happened on the first day of school where, for those who don't know, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel decided not to run for another term. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing about that. My wife is a school teacher. So if you know anything about the history of Rahm Emanuel, he came straight in and he started closing schools. Actually, the school she was teaching at as soon as he came in was one of the schools that got closed down. Damn. And then the teachers union went on strike, so we had to, suffer through the strike. They changed policy with as far as how teachers are paid and evaluated. So I'm really, really entrenched in the whole fabric of his administration from a different perspective. We're the people who a lot of his sweeping policies have affected. So there's no love lost, but you have to also reflect on the current political atmosphere of our society. So I always think about it like, are we, jumping from the frying pan into the fire, so to speak? Because I heard that one of the candidates was going to be one of Mayor Daley's brothers. So who knows what him, not running again is going to create the vacuum for. So that's going to be interesting. But I didn't particularly care for him. So it's really no love lost, but it's one of those things you never know, what you're going to get. Anything can always get worse, to be honest. So we'll see.
Yeah, and before you moved to Chicago, you spent, most of your life here in Virginia, and you're from Petersburg, correct, sir?
So here's the thing about that, and I can tie it into me and Kleph. Me and Kleph are both Army brats, if you will. Fathers were in the military. So we moved around a lot in our early years, and by the time I came to Petersburg when I was probably in about 6th grade. Okay. But I was born in Germany. I lived in Alaska, Pennsylvania, a lot of different places, so I was in Petersburg for probably my formative years, and me and Kleph met when I want to say maybe 10th grade year in high school. And the way that happened was the homeboy, Jose, shout out to DJ Daz, who was our first DJ, but he came, my family moved out to Prince George County. And that year, Jose moved to Prince George. And so I saw him wandering around the school, so I said, where's the classes at home? And come to find out that me and him had a lot of similar classes, so I kind of showed him around. And he come to find out, he's really into hip. And he's writing this song. He's like, he got a lot of stuff in there talking about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And by this time, I had the reputation of being, a student of, African culture and those types of things early on. And so he's like, man, can you do me a favor? Can you come by my house, listen to what he's saying? Because I want to make sure, before we record it, I want to make sure he's saying all the right things. So I said, sure. So I came over, and it was Kleph, and he started doing his raps. I fact-checked a couple things. And he was cool. It was funny. We were kind of had this kind of weird, contentious relationship at first, but I was like, man, he's a really nice guy. He's extremely talented, So he had a little scooter. I had a little car. He has this little scooter that he used to drive around to get around. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I was like, yeah, this guy is real talented, and kind of took off from there.
Around what year was this?
I want to say 80, late 80s, because we graduated we graduated high school in the early 90s. So I want to say late 80s, 87 maybe.
Oh wow! And with Jose, who was the clique that was you? Was it just you, Jose, and Kleph, or was it other people too as well?
So initially that was the squad. Then we're young, so it's like you're gonna try 1,000 different things before you land on one thing. So it was us three initially. Then we had another group where it was 4 of us. Now, I was a dancer. So we had, this was back in the day where every hip-hop group had to have at least 2 back dancers.
Yeah.
So me and the other homie
kind of like Scoob and Scrap,
exactly,
Circle of Big Daddy Kane.
That type vibe. Exactly. We were big on that. So we had 2 rappers up front, 2 dancers in the back. the two brothers, and this is something that was interesting. That particular group, what do we call ourselves? We called ourselves Soul, and Soul stands for Students of the Universal Language. And we performed at the Apollo, which was like incredible. Like, you know, being these guys from Virginia to get, we won a competition, and they took us up to New York, and we performed on the Apollo. And so, yeah, that group, you know, went through little growing pains, and it ended up me and Kleph stuck together, and that's when we kind of took off with the Ill Biskits.
Word. And was Rahstar, Kariz, and Rees One, were they, and like Dolomite, were they around at that time, or did y'all get introduced to them later on?
Oh, okay. So yeah, those cats, they came later, but like early on, because like Rahstar, he was, you know, always in the city doing his little thing, so we kind of took him under our wing. Reeves was a little homie, and this is back when I was managing a record store. It was called Willie's Records and Tapes.
Hell yeah.
You remember Willie's? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they had one on the north side.
I was one of the managers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I hired, I mean, our store was our store was almost like the movie Car Wash. All the characters that were there, you know, Kleph, all of us worked there. Reeves, the homie Boris, he's out in Cali now. I mean, just Bear One is out in Philly doing the thing. I mean, it was just like classic musicians. Like, we would have jam sessions where guys would bring like their instruments into the store. You know, guys would be like, I got my saxophone in the car. They would bring their saxophone. I got my guitar in the car. They bring their guitar in. So that's where they kind of came in. But we had already, Rahstar came up and recorded with us in New York while we were working on our project. And they did a side project as well. So a lot of those guys came up when we were in the middle of doing our project for Atlantic Records. So, but yeah, I mean, they were day one. I want to say Rahstar might have even been one of the people that went to the Apollo with us. Like, he was always around. He was like young, doing his thing.
And back then he went by Raheem, right? Or was that during the college?
It's hard for me to say because, I mean, I know him as Raheem because that's his name, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I don't know. You know how it is. Everybody at some point gets a nickname type thing, you know. So, I don't know I don't know, like, if an official, you know, like, I'm Rahstar now. I don't remember that particularly happening, but it's just, you know, some names you come with, like Deeda has been my nickname forever since I was a little boy. Excuse me. Since I was a little boy. I remember when Kleph made up his nickname. Made up his rap name. And I remember, you know, he broke it down to a particular logic behind it. He said his middle name began with a K. His middle name was Keith. And he said everything he does is to the left. So he was like, his name is Kleph. Okay, that's clever.
Nice.
That's clever. Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. So. That's dope. And what was the first Ill Biscuit song that you remember? Because I want to take like a stab in the dark, because there was this bonus song on I would want to say the 2007 re-release of Chronicle of Two Losers. It was called Beyond Understanding, and it sounds a little bit older than the rest of the album. Was that one of the first songs, or was it something else? Well, to be honest, it's going to be hard for me to say, because you got to
like I said, we've known each other since like 10th grade, and you imagine like all the songs in between then and by the time we're like 22.
Yeah.
So and like I said, it's like things happen kind of organically. I know people try to or like to have things like put into like particular patterns, you know, in 1987. I mean, because it helps tell a story better, like, you know. So it's hard, you know, nobody wants to hear this ambiguous kind of organic thing like, actually, you know, things kind of blend together. So
definitely, I understand.
Maybe conceptually, and also, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say. Like, there's no official, like, okay, we are the Ill Biskits now, and this is our first song. I mean, you know, the first thing, like, we released as the Ill Biskits, you know, because the way we got signed was because we had financed our own record. So we put out wax on our own before.
What was the first 12-inch?
I want to say that was, you know, the sad part is I'm not the best historian.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm like, I really miss Kleph because he was always like, remember that time we did that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. We did do that, you know. So I want to say God bless your life. We put that out. But plus, you know, back then, too, it was like how you got music was different. So we put out a lot of tapes that we would, one of the homies had a tape duplication machine. So we would put out our own tapes, our own mixtapes, you know, and it was like a whole kind of like squad thing too, because we had all these other people, you know, we had like a real like, you know, it was the Wu-Tang era. Everybody had, you know, crews and, you know, so you always had a bunch of people contributing to what you're doing. So that's why I mentioned like Bear One, Dolo was around, and AKA Gavin Brown. But Dolo was around, and the way we know him is because his older brother Kyle was in this group with this other brother, and I thought they were amazing. I thought they were dope. They had a wonderful name. They were called the Gideons.
Okay.
Like the Gideon Bible you get in the hotels.
Yeah.
They called themselves the Gideons. And oh man, I thought they were really, really good. And Kyle was like, you know, he had his little brother, and that was dope. And bruh, when I tell you somebody that I think he's known a lot for his production nowadays, but this dude, from the time I met him, I was just like, wow, he is a rapper. This dude was an MC supreme. He would battle anybody and just cut him up, and he was so young and clever and sharp with it. So, yeah, there's a lot of people along the way that are, you know, you can look at now and be like, man, wow. But, yeah, we knew a lot of people when we were young because we were doing it then. So, yeah, it's kind of, you know, things are organic. And I have my memories. I don't, you know how memories are. You remember something one way, somebody else remember it another way, you know. But I just remember a lot of people who I know now who are doing a lot of good things, who have done a lot of good things. We were young, and they were very, very talented, and cats were hungry. And we pushed, and, you know, everybody was around. Mad Skills, Lonnie B, Danger Mouse.
Where'd you first meet them at? Because I hear like definitely back in the day, because I was like 7 when all of this was like going on. But I heard Mad Skills and Lonnie B had a very famous time slot up at University of Richmond. Do you remember just that era?
Yeah, we went up there and we battled them guys.
Yeah, there is a tape of that on YouTube, I want to say, or somebody like uploaded it.
Really?
Yeah, like I think Hip Hop Henry has it, or I remember when we were doing the listening party with Ra,
We knew them. I mean, we knew them guys before then, though.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, Matt Skills, we were always cool, though. Everybody was like, I never really had super duper problems with people, you know. And I can't pinpoint, like, again, when we first met, because people were always on the scene. You know, we were like young. We were like the young kids in the club. And they were like, who let this little young whippersnapper up in here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and everybody had different interests within the hip-hop scene. Me, I knew a lot of people from dancing. I was young. I would go to the club, and we would just dance. And it wasn't necessarily, at that time, it wasn't like B-boy dancing. We weren't like, you know, popping and locking. It was more like just snapping. Like, you were more like almost like house, but hip-hop type. And so I know a lot of people from being in clubs and dancing and just being on the scene, you know. So it's hard to say where, because everybody was doing something. Everybody was trying to get shows. Everybody was trying to get on the radio. Everybody was trying to, you know, be seen and be relevant. So
I gotta ask you just a question about this story. It's I remember I was going through an old Rap Pages article, and they were talking about how you guys met Mike Loe. Is it true that y'all met Mike Loe? He was just like making beats and y'all kind of heard it out of a window. I want to say like Kleph said that, or do you definitely remember that era?
So the thing about that is, like, sometimes me and Kleph would go up to New York on our own at different times to do different things.
Yeah.
So the way I met Mike might be different from how he met him. You know what I'm saying? So Mike might have been just introduced to me.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
But, I mean, what a great guy. I mean, just amazing person. I really like Mike a lot.
Yeah, definitely still doing this thing in the DJ club scene. And he's also one of, like, I say, definitely one of the most slept-on producers of that era, because he did a majority of y'all's album. He did some joints with the Artifacts. He did Speak Your...
Talented.
Yeah, Speak Your Piece.
He was the DJ. He was like the road DJ for the Jungle Brothers.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yep. So, yeah. Mike, yeah, I met Mike B through him. Yeah. Those guys, yeah. He's a good person.
No doubt. And I was going to also ask you, too, as well, what was Kariz Entertainment? Because I saw it on just like the 12 inches. Okay. Yeah, and I just never got, you get like just the Discogs explanation of what Kariz Entertainment is, but what was it and who ran it? And just tell us a little bit about that imprint.
Oh my goodness, I can take you. Okay. It's nothing bad, but yeah, Kariz Entertainment. I went to, after high school, I went to St. Paul's College out in Lawrenceville, Virginia. I went there for about a year. Then I transferred to Virginia State. At the time, I was heavy into what was known as the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, the Ansar Allah community. So I had a friend, and we would build a lot. So he was roommates with this guy named Cameron Walker. Cameron Walker is Kariz Entertainment.
Okay.
My man was from New Jersey. Cam was from New York, and they were roommates out in this place called Lee Hall in Petersburg. So Cam was like, yeah, I'm in the hip-hop, man. I'm in the hip-hop. And I was like, word, I got a homeboy. He raps, man. Just check him out. So me and Cam kind of linked up. He met Kleph and was like, yo, this dude can rap. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, I think we can do some things. Cam was very ambitious, very, like, forward-thinking and entrepreneurial. So he was like, man, what y'all need to do is y'all should put a record together. like, huh? You know, he's like, man, you can press the wax up, da 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 da. Secret sauce to the story is Cam's cousin is none other than the almighty Lord Finesse.
Yeah.
So that's the connection. So we put our little coins together. Kariz Entertainment. It was Cam and my man Big D, Daryl Williams, from New York. And Big D was cool with DOS Effects. DOS Effects went to Virginia State.
For
you
real?
Know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Damn.
We was all like in school together. That's what I'm saying. I mean, dancing in the club I met tons of people because they would dance too. They were dancers too back in the day. And so we all just be on the floor battling, dancing and stuff. So that was connection. D was working like street promotions for DOS Effects. He was friends with Cam. Cam was friends with my man. We called him Nasir, a.k.a. Steady Eddie. And, they met Kleph. We were like, we got this group. Boom, 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 boom. And, we put it together. And so we put out the record, started making a little buzz. Oh, because another thing, Cam was a radio host on Virginia State's radio station. So he had the list of all the college radio stations. So him and Big D would put our package together and send them out to all the college radio stations. And that's where we started getting the buzz on the college radio. And then that, just opened doors. But we started going with Cam. We started going to New York. And basically, we would go, looking back at it now, but we would literally go to Lord Finesse's apartment and bug the heck out of him. I don't know if we can curse on the show, but
no, you're fine. I can censor it. I can always censor it out. It's all good.
Yeah. We would bug Lord Finesse to death, like, and he'd just be like, Lord Finesse is so cool. He talks like he raps, So Finesse would be like, yeah, y'all country boys, da na 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 na. So we would have like these hour-long snap battles. And I would snap back on him. I'd be like, oh, man, you old caveman foot looking, da-da-da-da-da, And you'd be like, you old country boy, da-da-da-da. And we would just go back and forth. And we would just go and hang out with him, man. Finesse was so cool to us. I mean, I remember times he'd just be like, yo, I'm going to the store. You want to come? And it would just be me and him. Me and Finesse would just roll out and just go to the store and get a drink, you know what I'm saying? But to walk through the city with Lord Finesse was just like mind-blowing for me at that age. And, because we walked through the street and people just be like, yo, it's the funky man. I mean, to this day, I don't even think I've ever walked around with someone like that before. I mean, the love he got from the hood was just like incredible to me. Like, everybody knew Lord Finesse, and it was just like, it was very impressionable to me.
And this was around the era that he was dropping The Awakening, right? Like Hip to the Game, the joint with Hip to the Game, and
they were on top of it because it was during the Digging in the Crates era.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they had this thing together. To be honest, he didn't even have to mess with us. There was nothing we could offer Finesse, you know what I'm saying? But he looked out. But they were on top of it. I mean, they had Diamond D, Big L was still alive. I remember meeting Fat Joe. We did a show with Fat Joe in Virginia before Big Pun even came out. And I was telling everybody, I was like, yo, it's this dude that's bigger than Fat Joe. I was like, he got this rapper that's bigger. It was him and Cuban Link.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, just classic. But, yeah, they were at the top of the food chain for real. Like, them guys had really good production quality. Buck Wild, shout out to Buck Wild, because I remember hearing Buck Wild, Jesse West. He had that song with Biggie and Kleph.
Dolly My Baby.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I remember going to Just West's house and he played us some music. I mean, I was like, yo, the stuff that don't get released from a lot of artists would blow your mind. You know what I'm saying? That's what I learned. I'm like, and I was always waiting for Just West stuff to come out, and never really came out, you know. And so it's a lot of reasons why things happen, but believe that there's a lot of talented people in the world that you kind of heard of, you might have never heard of, but man, I mean, I remember hearing Just West stuff and was just like mind blown.
I actually got that that one album that he released, that No Prisoners. I got that on wax back at the crib. Yeah, it's definitely a solid project, and he blessed y'all too as well with one of like the greatest like introductory tracks on the album that I've like heard. Period. That exclusive debut. Still definitely.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a lot of good people who was behind us, and I think it was more off of, you know, who we were. We were just two very honest dudes from Virginia, you know, and it was kind of off-putting for people, you know, especially around that time in New York, you know, just the whole scene of hip-hop at that time. It was like the golden era, but everybody was young. Everybody was, you know, doing their thing, establishing themselves, and it was just interesting to see people who now everybody is like, man, they're a legend. But I remember meeting Nas. I remember meeting Biggie and Pac, and when everybody was like really young. I remember meeting Wu-Tang Clan, and they just had the tape out, that white tape with the I think Protect Your Neck on it or something. They had the sword on it. I don't even know if they had the Wu-Tang logo yet.
Oh wow.
But yeah, they were just nice guys, man. They were like very genuine people at the time, you know. So.
Also, it's pretty interesting you brought up that whole college radio aspect, because I don't think a lot of cats realize that was a place where a lot of records ended up getting like broken, because I was listening to a late 1995 edition while I was at work recently of the Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito show, and they they started the show off with Jay-Z, I'm the greatest MC in this world, like a joint before Reasonable Doubt, and then it ends up blending into Ill Biskits, God Bless Your Life, like, and yeah, and then I was like, yo, this is crazy, and Stretch. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that was holding us down. We was getting played like in a lot of places. I never forget. We were up there. We were getting on the train, and we were sitting on the steps. And Heather B comes walking down the steps. You know, a lot of these stories to me, saying them now, be sounding like I'm making stuff up, but this is so true. We're sitting there, and Heather B comes walking down the steps, and I'm like, "Hey, you're Heather B. You were on that reality show, you know?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah." And she was really nice, and we just started talking. And we were like, "Yeah, we're here. We're from Virginia." She was like, "Yeah, really?" I was like, "Yeah, we got a little rap group. We got something out. We, you know, released a little record." She was like, "What do y'all call it?" We called the Ill Biskits. She was like, "Oh yeah, Kenny just played that song the other day." I'm like, "Kenny?" She's like, "Yeah, Kenny Parker."
Oh wow.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm meeting him now." The train pulls up. Me, Kleph, Heather B, get on the train. Fucking Kenny Parker. and he's like, she's like, "Kenny, yeah, this is the Ill Biskits." He's like, "Oh yeah, word, yeah, God bless your life."
Oh man.
I'm like, yeah. That's me. That's us. Yeah, it was incredible. It's a great experience, man.
When did Atlantic Records come knocking?
Good question. I think that was another one of those. Kleph was up in New York. I was back in Virginia type scenarios. But I remember And we were cool like with a lot of guys. So we would go up with I don't know if you know DJ Casper, DJ Herb Lover.
Oh yeah.
All these guys we would connect with, and we would go because they had more reliable transportation. So we would go up there. So my earliest memories of going up to Atlantic was with these guys, and you know, just like that whole process of the signing, but I think ultimately they heard our the record we released, and you know, the rest is kind of like history. Somehow, I think off the strength of like having Lord Finesse doing production for us.
Yeah, he did that. He did let him know, right?
Mm-hmm.
A word.
So I think that's what Cam was pushing, and that got us in the door. Now, what route they went, I want to say maybe somebody was working for a record company. One of them, either Cam or Daryl, Big D, was working for a label. So, I mean, you know, you have like a management team as well. So they were doing a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, I was more, to be totally honest, I was more like on the creative side with a lot of like my input into the groups was more like on the creative side, more like image and aesthetic and like tone, stuff like that, you know. Like I came up with the name for the album. I came up with just the visual angle. I came up with the logos and stuff like that. You know, I was a artist more so than a lot of things, you know. Because that's kind of like where everybody knew me, like, even like back in high school and stuff. Oh, Deeda, he draws and stuff like that. So I did a lot of the artistic stuff.
Like the Ill Biskits logo?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
That's all my art. Which is funny to like, was it you guys who posted Dollaz wax?
Yeah, that was
recently?
Me. I actually found...
That was you?
Yeah.
Man, it blew my mind because I'm like, yo, I'm looking at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do stuff, you do things in the world, you know, and you forget about them. And then I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, that looked like something I drew. Somebody out here biting my style, you know what I'm saying? And I look closer, and I'm like, hold on, I drew that. So it always throws me off, like, when I see artwork that I've done from years ago, like, because I haven't seen it in years, so.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was real cool. I like that.
No doubt. I got that record in my crib. My homie Sam, shout out to Sam. He's definitely a local DJ around here. He found it, and I want to say like one of those West End like West End markets that you can go to, and a lot of people just like set up their own like venues or their own shops in it. And he found that there. And
where was this at? Like somewhere in the Midwest?
No, not in the Midwest, in the West End, like
okay.
Right near I would want to say
Richmond.
Yeah, in Richmond, right near Willow Lawn,
okay,
actually.
Gotcha.
There's like this little kind of like strip mall with a bunch of like just businesses in there, and we found it in there. And the crazy thing is that I showed Dolomite this recently. That record actually goes for like $29 on Discogs now. Like it's definitely,
what?
Yeah, it's definitely.
I want my royalties. No, I'm just
yeah,
that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Wow.
And yo, wait till you see. Yeah, the Ill Biskits CD. Are you aware how much the Ill Biskits CD is going for on Discogs right now?
Nah, I have no idea.
It's going for around like $104.
See, that's the thing about this. This is an example of a perfect example of how the music industry works, you know, and how I watch that show Unsung.
Yeah.
And these are people we know about. Unsung isn't like, people you never heard of. And it's really interesting how the stories go. But, I mean, that's exactly how the industry works. Like, me, right now, nowadays, I'm 40. I'll be 47 in November. Father of 3. I live in Chicago, South Side Chicago, And so I'm so far removed from even that scene, because after the Ill Biskits kind of broke up, we never really broke up. It was just like, it's like brother stuff, how family is.
Yeah.
Kleph kept doing his thing, and he did incredible stuff. I went back to school, and I studied fine arts, and ended up, teaching and creating programs in the community, and so my life is a bit different, because I never kept in the hip hop scene, that type of thing, but. It's incredible to know that you make an impact on the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you do, it's just like for people, like a ideal and inspiration. Because, do something all the time. Put yourself out there. Be brave. Be courageous. Because you never know. I had people contacting me from, Germany. I remember right before Kleph passed away, he was like, man, they had been contacting him because they wanted us to do a tour in Germany.
Yeah, that makes sense because...
So it's like...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, that makes sense because just I feel like their appreciation, overseas, is sometimes more grateful than it is for people coming from America. When it comes to just the art, just the hip hop essence,
right. Well, because in America we have a really short attention span.
Yeah,
things happen so rapidly, things move, Whereas, in other parts of the world, kind of takes time to get over there, and then culture's different, So, yeah, I mean that's amazing, And like I said, it kind of amazes me when I see things that kind of come back to me. Because, I'm not totally out of it. I still stay in contact with people. And, like I said, I still do art. And, I do shows occasionally. And, so I try to stay active. I think we were at this is funny. I was working with a group of kids on this mural project. And of course, it was an after school program, so every guy in the program was a rapper, So, and they were like, I'm like, man, we're trying to paint, and y'all want to rap all the time. I was like, okay, y'all want to rap, let's rap. So it's like somebody throw a beat on. I just started killing them, blah 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 blah, and they're like, oh my goodness, Mr. Shoes, you can rap. So then I'm doing an art show with this collective I'm kind of affiliated with. And one of the acts at this particular art show, they were giving space to these young people who rap. And so as soon as they walk in, they see me and they're like, oh my goodness, yo, Mr. DeShields is up in here. So they do their little rap and they're like, yo, Mr. Shields, can you come up and rap with us? So I got up and did a couple bars with them. But it's just it was mind-blowing because the kids, pulled me up there. And then the people who know me from the art world, they were like, yo, you rap? What are you doing? What is this? This is crazy. So it's the culture, man. Once it's in you, you never let it go. You just... To me, I was just a type of personality that you try things and you kind of realize I don't necessarily want to be a part of this. I had different ideas about the world. You know what I'm saying? So
true.
It's just really interesting the life I'm living now compared to what we were doing when we were younger, which was super fun. I mean, it was challenging, particularly in the era that we were doing it in. You know, I mean, there were times where we would drive to New York and sleep in the car in some like super shady neighborhoods, you know, just trying to get on. And we did, you know, and I think, particularly for Kleph, it worked out really well. You know, it worked out really well for him. As far as his legacy, I miss him a lot because, I mean, we got to the point where, you know, it's really interesting how life is. We got to a point where we didn't talk for maybe 5 years. And by that time, I had moved to Chicago and everything, had a child. And we reconnected, and we would talk like almost every single day for hours, you know. And that's just how life is, man, you know. Really interesting. I miss him a lot, you know. And even with that, I felt like he was on like a crest of social media was starting to become a thing. And I think if he was around now, man, he would benefit so much from just how the world is. It's like tailor-made for someone like him, you know. So it's always, every once in a while I get this little pain and like, man, I wish Kleph was around because, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could be killing it. We could be killing it.
Yeah.
You know, but.
Absolutely, especially since now, like, yeah, like you said, social media, and then there's just definitely.
Well, he was so above. He was so above our time. A lot of people don't know Kleph was a skateboarder. Matter of fact, he was a sponsored skateboarder. Yeah, when he was younger, he skateboarded. That's how him and Bear One, DJ Bear One, know each other because both of them were skaters.
Oh man!
And yeah, he had gotten sponsored. I mean, he was nice with it. Super tall, super skinny skateboarder, and was dope with it. You know, and that's why I was like, that's kind of like where I came up with the concept for the album, like Chronicle of Two Losers, Volume 1. We're going to do a Volume 2. And, you know, I had like a whole direction I wanted that one to go into. But it was like we were not atypical hip-hoppers of that time. Now, in retrospect, and like, you know, you have a lot of people that are exactly what we were into. And it was kind of off-putting for some people because we were coming from the South. Because they had their ideal of what a Southern rapper was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And here comes these two kids, like, I hate to say it, but like super middle class, skater, artsy-fartsy kind of guys. You know what I'm saying? So it was like really difficult for them to try to market us, especially for Atlantic at the time because that wasn't the trend. The trend was like hyper consumeristic, you know, champagne popping, gangster thug type characters.
Is that what you think happened just with like Atlantic? Is this that it just there was just like a disconnect between you and the label?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because we were going to meetings. I mean, I know for a fact because we were going to meetings and it would be like, can you do this? And it was really hard for them to kind of pin us down. You know, it was just like, it was like a weird thing. It was like, I even saw like our video play on like a Christian video show. Because it was like no one knew what, God bless your life, it was like no one knew where to put that. It's like, are they gospel rappers? Is it thug? Are they college? You know, this is before Kanye West, before like, you know, a lot of stuff where we could have been totally marketable now, but then it was just like, man, I remember, like, we would shoot our videos, and then the dude would have, like, the director would have such a problem with, like, our wardrobe, like how we dressed, and just be like, they would send us clothes to wear. It was like this whole thing. It was really interesting. Like anything. So if you like kind of see the pictures of us, like me at the time, I was on like some real rude boy stuff. Yeah. And Kleph has like the bucket hat on and the khakis, and you know what I'm saying? That's just like, that was our style, and it was like.
And another thing is too, you were talking about like Virginia, and just cats didn't just realize how to just some cats just didn't realize how to take just y'all style, being that y'all are from Virginia. I feel like Virginia has always been that just like murky area where some people are influenced by up north, like pretty much like it is like now and just like the present scene, and other artists are like more of that down south. So it's always like a middle ground, I feel like, with Virginia, because we're in the middle.
Right. And I think with us, we had, Kleph and Jose, they moved from Germany. So they were like coming from a foreign country, coming to the United States at a really, impressionable age. So it was kind of hard for us, like, having all these, like, life experiences. And then you go and you kick it. We would go and hang out in New York with dudes who ain't never been out their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, I remember going to, like, Virginia State, and I was always back and forth to New York. So I would see people from Virginia State out on the streets. They would be at Virginia State one way, thugged out. I pull up on them on the streets of New York. They were like, shook, like, how you know me? They show fool from school. Like, so it was just like, really interesting experience, that whole dynamic. It was, and I think Kleph, particularly in his later years, was like really. Kleph was always really a very moral person. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
he would always have like these conflicts with like interacting with the industry. I think a lot of that kind of played into his. From what I see, he was kind of a reclusive type person. He'd much rather be in the house. I mean, his house was always immaculately clean. He just had really good values. He was like, his parents, beautiful people, solid, salt of the earth type people. His pops is hilarious. But just like that old school type father. But he was always super funny with Kleph because he was just like, I guess because Kleph was his youngest. He has an older brother and he has a sister. And then there's Kleph. And he was just always on Kleph, man. It's just like, oh, my God. I never forget, like, this is like, a side story. But we were in high school. And I went to Petersburg school. He was going to Petersburg schools for high school. I was out in Prince George with Jose. And he was like, yo, let's go to a Petersburg football game. So I think I might have been driving. Anyway, we go to Kleph's house. Pops would not let him leave until he mopped the floor. It was the funniest thing in life. Like, yo, oh, my God, to this day. But, like, yo, his dad was like, you not going? I mean, it was just, like, classic sitcom, movie father stuff. He was like, you ain't going nowhere. And we, like, all dressed, looking at our watches, waiting to go. We got to wait for this fool to mop the floor. I'm like, Kleph, why didn't you mop the floor earlier? You know what I'm saying? So, man. And so I think a lot of how he moved in the industry. But, I mean, bruh, this brother did a lot of production for a lot of people, and it's just like, I was always just really impressed with that. Really impressed by him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when we were doing, he wasn't a producer back when we were at Ill Biskits. What happened was we moved back to Virginia after that, and we were working at Willie's. And he was like, yo, this dude got this equipment. And I was like, really? I was like, is it official? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay. So this character pulls up, pops his trunk, and he has like this piece of equipment. I mean, to me, it might as well have been from the Starship Enterprise. I didn't know what it was. And I'm like, yo, Kleph, is it legit? And he looked at it, he's like, yeah, man, that's what you need. And so the dude was trying to quote one price, and I was like, look, I'll give you, X, Y, and Z right now for it. And he was like, all right, word. So I go get the money, pay the dude. Kleph takes the piece of equipment, takes it home, figures it out, comes back to me and is like, Deeda, to be honest, I had seen pictures of it, but I didn't know what that thing was. I was like, what? But he took that. That was his first piece of studio equipment. I bought it for him. I didn't ask him for no money. I was just like, do your thing, brother. And I bought his first piece of studio equipment. He took and figured that thing out without an owner's manual. And I mean, literally mastered it. And it was a wrap after that. I don't know what he ended up eventually, of course he eventually added to his repertoire or whatever, but yep, I bought his first piece of studio equipment out the trunk of somebody's car. That John was in a peach crate. You know what I'm saying?
Some of them still haven't mastered it.
Say again, I'm sorry.
Some of them still haven't mastered it over years.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what the piece of equipment was.
It probably was it an MPC?
This gray box.
Okay.
It was like a. All I remember was like a piece of equipment that you could record. It might have had some sampling in it. To be honest, I don't know what it was, but I just remember that's what he got. He put that together with. He might have had a turntable or something at the crib. And that brother, and I would just love his beats. I'd be like, just make me a tape or a CD or your beats. Me and my other homeboy Roots, and we would just ride around with that joint. Yeah.
Word, no doubt. Definitely. Oh man, there's so much more when but I guess we'll just end right here. Deeda, definitely. Oh, yo. What are you up to now in just like Chi-Town? We were talking off the air about just the vegan life, how you were doing it before, like it was even called vegan. What you up to now?
Man, I'm a father and a husband. Since I've been here in Chicago, I've been teaching art, creating art. I've been teaching sustainable urban gardening practices. My life is pretty simple for right now. I take care of the babies, take care of the family. We grow a little bit of our food and just try to keep pushing it. We moved into a new home over the summer. So that was, it's been our challenge, just trying to get settled in but just living life, man. I do martial arts. I've been doing capoeira, like I said, for probably about 15 years. I do a little bit of Kali, stick fighting, and, I just try to stay healthy, man, for the longevity, man. Learn new things, challenge my mind, challenge my body. I do, stuff like that, just trying to be healthy, trying to promote health, keep the babies healthy. Right now it's kind of a little bit in limbo just because we just moved in. But ideally, my long-term goal is to eventually kind of did what I did with a good brother named Diallo Kenyatta, we set up basically an urban farm in the middle of Southside Chicago. So really, I want to do more of that. I want to get some empty lots, convert them into grow spaces for the community. You know, get people more in tune with healthy living and yeah, a lot of I mean, you know, here in Chicago, it's a lot of opportunities. I've done some really interesting things. Like I said, I've shown art here. I was, for a little while, I was co-hosting a radio show, the Bro Diallo Show. I'll go on and, you know, it was a political-based show. And, you know, just doing more stuff like that, man. Just really trying to, you know, as you get older, you want to leave something for the people. And so, you know, just trying to do things like that, leave something behind for the folks, you know.
We got to drop a special plant-based living podcast soon, man. Just some of the information we were talking about, like, off the air.
Oh, yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, yo, Deeda Bam of the Ill Biskits, definitely thank you for joining us today. And also check out the Ill Biskits album. I just noticed that it just got re-uploaded to just the streaming services like a few weeks ago. Chronicle of Two Losers, first edition. Make sure you just check it out. It's on iTunes, Spotify, and Tidal now. And yeah, thanks for joining us, man, for real. Like, this has definitely been like an honor.
Hey, man, I appreciate brothers like yourself, people who have interest in, you know, one, keeping my brother's legacy alive, you know, because it's worthy of all the accolades and all the praises that it gets. I mean, that brother is extremely talented. I mean, I'm not going to take very much credit for anything other than the fact that I'm still here and he's not, you know. And so my obligation to that whole Ill Biscuit thing is to keep the idea going. If anybody ever has anything to question me about, I'm here. And, yeah, man, I'm telling you, the brother was talented beyond
understanding.
Yeah, you know, and it's just, you know, it pains me that he's not here, but he's still here. As long as I got breath in my lungs, I'm going to tell everybody about the good brother. So, I appreciate that people, what little contribution I had in it, I appreciate that people recognize it, and it's beautiful. Like I said, I keep it going. I love seeing people reminding me of things I did. Like, to see that artwork today on Dollaz stuff was just like, I stared at that for quite a minute, you know, and it was just like, wow, it's great. So keep doing what you're doing, brother, man. Anything you're doing now is going to have an impact on the future, for sure.